From the Denver Press Club in downtown Denver, Meet the Press host Tim Russert sits on the other side of the table and answers your questions. And a former Denver Bronco player shares what's on his mind about giving back to the community.
Asking your questions, getting your answers. This is your show. Here's your host, Adam Schrager.
Good morning and welcome to your show for Sunday, April 20th. Our program this morning features the nation's preeminent political reporter. Tim Russert is the Washington bureau chief for NBC News and the longtime host of Meet the Press. We had a chance to pose your questions and comments to him last week when he was in town receiving an award from the Denver Press Club. We are in the poker club of the old Denver Press Club with Meet the Press host Tim Russert, the Washington bureau chief for NBC. Thanks so much for being on your show.
My pleasure. Hit me again.
It's Meet the Press. Cheryl Condon from Arvada writes in saying, with all the things going in the world, why do you spend so much time talking about the presidential campaigns?
Well, I think it's a historic election. It's the first time since 1952 where there's not an incumbent president or vice president seeking nomination of either party. The first serious woman candidate, the first serious African-American candidate. And the issues are big. It's Iraq, it's the economy, Social Security, health care, energy independence. So I think it has a bearing on not only our future as a country, but also as the most important leader of the world, the United States of America. Now, sometimes we can probably do less horse race and more on the substance, and we try to do that. But I think every 4 years it's imperative that we in the media focus on this presidential race. There's no more important decision than the citizens are going to make.
John Wren wrote in. He's a local caucus activist. And he writes in and says, it seems like new people are becoming politically active here in Colorado and other states where the presidential delegates are selected in caucuses. Do you think this activation of the grassroots is healthy? And his question is, should primary states consider adopting the caucus system?
Well, that's for the parties to decide, whether it's a Democrat or Republican party. I don't make the party rules. But the one thing I do know about the election of 2008, it has energized and intrigued the body politic. I cannot go to an airport, to a supermarket, church, airplane. People want to talk about this race. I think the more people who turn out to vote, the more people who register to vote, the more people who watch the debates, watch Meet the Press, watch your news program, it's all very healthy. People say, what about Stephen Colbert and Jon Stewart and those kinds of programs? Don't they compete with yours? No, they complement it. And if young people are getting their information and getting engaged and interested in politics, I have every confidence that in 20 years they'll be sitting in their Barker lounger with a little baby on the knee watching Meet the Press. I think it's healthy for everybody.
Talk about some of the issues. You talked about how the show tends to try to focus on some of those. Kevin Scott writes in, why don't we hear the candidates running for president talk much about trying to control the price of crude oil?
Well, we actually have. I've raised the energy issue several times in the presidential debates and on Meet the Press. I think the real disconnect now is as demand for oil seems to be going down in some of the market, the prices are going up, and people don't have a real answer for it. I think the other concern is if you're getting oil from Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Iran, and Venezuela, is that not only an energy issue but a national security issue. So I do think energy is a very important issue, and crude oil is an important piece of it, and we'll continue to pursue it.
You mentioned Iraq earlier, and Scott Sloan wrote in a question about this. In your opinion, he wants to know, do you see that the Iraq war has undermined both the economy and national security? Is that what you're sensing out there in the polling that NBC's doing?
Yeah. I'm different than a lot of people on cable or talk radio or the blogs. I don't offer my opinions as to what is my view of certain things. But the Iraq war, about 60% of the American people, according to all our data from NBC News polls, do not think the war was worth the price or the loss of human life or treasure. And I have noticed the last several weeks, particularly Obama, but more recently Clinton as well, have been tying the economy to the Iraq war, the cost of the war, and the negative consequences of that for our economy. So I expect to see in November a very robust debate between John McCain and either Clinton or Obama, not only about the war, but a subset of that will be the cost and what impact it has had upon our economy, our health care, our infrastructure, and so forth. It's going to be a very serious issue.
You talked about talk radio and the blogs, everybody trying to kind of judge what the media does and what the press does. And this question from Barb comes in. Do you think the press has more control over what people perceive of the presidential candidate rather than the actual truth?
No, I don't think we have much control over what people think. They have control over what they have. They have control over what they think. But what I love about this campaign in 2008 is the amount of information that's available. You can watch a candidate on Meet the Press. You can watch them on C-SPAN Live at many of their campaign events. You can watch local news when they visit your area. You can go to the websites and see their stands on issues. You can read left-wing blogs or right-wing blogs. You can listen to talk radio. You can listen to Air America radio. The amount of information is so plentiful, overwhelming even, which I think is very, very healthy. There's pamphleteers out there for all the candidates. What I try to do is something different, and that is to function as a referee, to watch the candidates closely, to listen to their answers intently, and not be afraid to say, excuse me, Senator, you didn't answer that question, or that's inconsistent with your position from 2 years ago. Not to play gotcha, but to show hopefully the intellectual path that they're on and what they really have in mind for the American people.